What's up, it's your boy DW bringing you tech, gadget, product reviews, and more. Over the weekend, I attended the demo event for Enertion and Lacroix e-boards in New York City. I was able to schedule an interview with Alex, one of the founders of the company, and we chatted about many of the questions surrounding the new product. So at times, I must warn you that there were quite a few helicopters flying around and it does get a little bit noisy, but I did try to clean up the audio as much as I can. The interview might be a long one, but there's definitely a lot of good information out there and a lot of juicy stuff on what's in the works. So watch it towards the end and let's get into it. Hey guys, we're here with Alex, one of the founders of Lacroix electric skateboards. He's already down here from Montreal and he's visiting us for a demo event. Thank you so much for coming out today.
Thanks, Danny. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, so thanks so much for introducing this new board for us. So first things first, how do you pronounce the name of the company correctly?
You can pronounce it whatever you want. But I guess the way to see it is like L-A-K-W-A. Lacroix.
Lacroix.
That's how you would pronounce it in English, because in French we say Lacroix, but it's difficult. The CR, I guess, is difficult in English, so just go with KWA.
Okay, great.
Lacroix.
Lacroix. How
Lacroix.
am I sounding? Okay,
Yeah,
sound
yeah,
good.
sounds good.
So can you give us a little background in terms of how you guys got started and also any inspiration behind creating this company and board?
Absolutely. So we started, well, you know, it didn't start as a company. It started as a pure hobby. So I was working in a law firm. I was a patent lawyer for 12 years and used to kite surf a lot, and then got kids and couldn't do all these sports that I wanted to do anymore, and started like dabbling around the idea of going to work on one of these electric boards things. And I started to shop around for them and learned what remote drop-offs are, and that freaked me out. And I'm like, I can't buy these boards in Canada. They're really expensive. Like an Evolve is like $3,000. So and a boosted. So I was like, I can't, and I wanted the pneumatic wheel. So I was looking more into certain companies and was a little underwhelmed. So, long story short, decided to build my own. And that's when I discovered a forum, like this huge forum, electric skateboard builders forum, where you get all this information, and started toying around and built a board last summer based on the Trampa platform with all the parts for my friend Ernesto, which I spent yesterday with. Here in New York City. And so built this board last summer, had a blast with it, and my brother actually built one 3 weeks later with some guys in Montreal, Charles and GF, and then in September, just toying with the idea with my brother of like, well, we could improve on this, and kind of like the Trampa deck wasn't designed to be electrified as an urban carver skateboard. These boards are meant to put some bindings on them and go in a straight line and be like land kiting. So it's a great. It certainly was a great idea, and there's a lot of great Trampa decks out there. People have been modifying them and whatnot. But for me, like as someone who has been like carving deeply for years, I used to, I still do actually, snowboard, but the alpine snowboard with the hard ski boots. So where you're carving and you're basically parallel to you're carving so deeply that your shoulders are leaning against the hill from side to side. So it's really like deep carving, and that's where we come from. And so the Trampa wasn't perfect. So we just my brother, we started this by saying maybe we could just like pay our own board by making a few.
Yeah.
and so that's how the idea started. And like last September, we started designing it. So we took everything we liked and didn't like about the board that we had built, and added a little pizzazz to it with the carbon fiber and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely. It looks really nice. So you guys started with just building a field board, just pay off. Were you just selling locally?
Actually, when we started, that was the idea. So from like CAD, from the CAD drawing to our first board, it brings us to the months of January or March. And so our first board was sold in April of this year.
Oh wow!
So and I'm doing this full time since mid-July, so it's been like 2 months now.
Yeah.
It feels crazy. It's been quite a ride. But
Yes, after selling a few boards, was there a moment that either you or your brother actually realized that, oh, you can actually turn this from a hobby into a real business?
absolutely, yeah, totally. And it's at that point that I decided to leave my job as a patent lawyer.
Wow.
And do this, full time. And since then, it's been going from my basement into our shop, which we took possession of the shop 2 weeks ago, and we're still, figuring out how to set it up. But we're doing pretty good. We pumped out quite a few boards since we're there. So yeah,
it's really great to hear.
Yeah.
So I own one of your boards, and one of the most unique features is, I guess, this custom deck design you guys have here. Can you talk a little bit more about the feature of the deck, and also how it compares to other decks out there, and in terms of performance?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, Danny, I want to commend you on what you did to your deck, because this is a beautiful little design you did. The deck doesn't come with these red stripes, but they really add to the board. So congrats to you on that. This is really nice. So what we wanted to do basically was have, so first of all was like no compromise. We want coming from a 12S 4P board with big motors, 63, 74, and 190 kV. We didn't want to go with smaller, anything smaller. So we just built upon that and wanted to make a better battery. So this board, you have the 60, so there's 60 30Q cells in this board. And the idea was to fit the biggest battery that we could, but also have a flexible deck. Now, making a flexible battery is quite a feat. It's difficult, and we worked very hard with Charles and GF, both engineers, to make that happen. And so the idea was to have a flexible deck and to keep it as light as possible without, they go really fast, and you want them to be safe. So the whole flexibility, there's a lot of things that were studied in order to make that happen. So all the screws, the size of the inserts, where the slits are located, and whatnot. So that's how we came about to it. Just designing it, and the carbon fiber was just to add to kind of the look of it, I guess.
I definitely enjoy the design of the board. Definitely gives me a much more stable and comfortable feel when I ride to. That's what I love with the board. Even though it's very comfortable for cruising around, it does get pretty fast. In terms of how fast it goes and how far it goes, can you give us some numbers on that?
Yeah, you're gonna have to look on the net to get so I can tell you how far it goes. So it will go like our size, the DSS 60, I think in kilometers, I'm sorry, not in miles, but so it will go around like 35-ish kilometers. That would be around 22 miles, I guess, around. And with the bigger battery pack, the DSS 50 Plus, which we use Sanyo 2700B cells in them, you could do 45 to 50 kilometers, and that would be around like 30-mile range at our size. Yeah,
that's really impressive, because most boards stops at like 14 miles range. So this definitely more than double.
So we, the way we see it, like this is, you can certainly commute with it, but it's not, there's much smaller boards that are much more portable. So we tried, you could make a board with 100 cells in them, but it would weigh like 40 pounds, and then it just becomes really a pain to carry around. So this one it's kind of right on the fence, we feel, of what you can kind of. I took the train with it, and it wasn't, it was okay, and so it's still portable, but it's definitely like on the heavier side of board. So it's around like 25 pounds, and but it's kind of the sweet spot that we found for having like that much range, because I'm more thinking, if I'm going out and I want to have that adrenaline rush, I want to go out for like at least an hour and a half. So that's more in terms of what I'm thinking, more in terms of range, right? So I want to have a nice session and have some fun, and scare myself a little, then
Yeah. You're gonna go have fun, try and maximize and have
Yeah.
as much fun as long as you
Yeah,
can.
exactly.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
So in terms of this board, who do you think it's for? Is it for like beginners? You recommend for a first board, or intermediates who's looking for upgrade,
No.
or more of a pros?
If you've so what I say is it's not a beginner board.
Okay.
So you know, the same way you don't learn to motorcycle on a Ducati, you know, you need to go on a bicycle first and learn your balance. And so if you've never skateboarded before, don't buy this. You need to be able, have your balance. Either you've snowboarded or skateboarded or, you know, done some sort of board sport, wakeboard, kite surf, whatever. But you know, if you have that balance, then you'll figure it out, because all you need to figure out is the remote, and that takes about like half an hour, you know. If you've never been on an electric board, shifting your weight, because you're actually controlling your own gravity, if you will, with the remote. But it's not a beginner board by any means. If you've ever ridden a board, then you're going to have fun on it. What's fun about this board for me is that you could actually carve at very low speeds, and then if you want to do a speed run, well, you can do it on the same board. But you know, I personally have not tested the top speed of this board, just because I have 2 kids now, so it can go really fast. But I have my adrenaline rush comes from, you know, a different experience on this board, and it's more versatile, so it allows for both. But there's some guys out there who are doing some.
Let some of the consumers test it out and let them report the speeds back to
Teddy
you.
and Pred and a couple of guys, they're definitely pushing this thing.
I know. I hear reports of like 38, 39 miles per hour. That's something a little too fast for me to try out myself. So I noticed on the board you put a prototype there.
Yeah.
Does that mean there might be a version 2 in the future?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I have. So what's this board is? It's like a Frankenstein for now, you know. And what I mean is that those are actually wheelchair tires, and those trucks are mountain board trucks. So none of these parts were actually designed to do what we make them do. So we're at like the very beginning, right, of this whole e-boarding experience, and so this works. But now, you know, people are starting to appreciate like our interpretation of what an e-board can be. But I have 1,000 ideas to make this better, and we're working on it. But this is, I mean, it's a fun board. I mean, I'm really proud of what my brother and I have done with this board, and GF and Charles, and I think it's a good first. But you know, it's written prototypo because we're always, even on your board, you know, because these parts were not designed to do what we make them do. So I'll give you a very, very quick example. I manipulate each and every one of these trucks personally to make sure that there's no rattle in them. So I add a different washer. Yours, you were lucky, we kept the original washers and there's no play in them. There's some play in them. So we changed the washers to make sure that they're super tight. These holes, the M8 holes, are made for brakes, but they're not exactly precisely at the same place each and every time, because they weren't designed for a precision, you know, application. So the spacers that we put here between the wheel and the pulley are actually all different on our board. We have 4 different types of spacers, each at 1/64th of an inch difference, to make sure that the wheel pulley doesn't rub on the motor mount. So that's, you know, you have the green ones, and those are, so this is all. And yeah, you could probably tighten this just a little.
Okay. Gotcha.
You shouldn't have any play in these, ever. So I can just give you a couple of pro tips since I don't have any time to do some videos, so yeah.
So speaking of designs, besides this style board, do you have any design plans for the future, maybe of a more compact board or urethane wheels or anything, even on a lower budget?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So like my philosophy is to always push forward and to do things that have not been done. And unfortunately, at the moment, at the size that we're at, that means making a premium board at you know, at a price that matches innovation and R&D that we do, and the cost of the parts, you know. And if I could just, you know, very simply, I come from I did a lot of mountain biking when I was younger, still do, cross country, downhill, and so carbon fiber and titanium are like my go-to. And so we did carbon fiber on this board, but titanium, we haven't touched that yet.
Wow.
So in our next boards, you'll see a lot more of that.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's exciting.
So that's one thing. The other thing is the motors. I think they could be bigger,
Ooh, that's awesome.
and the battery I think could be a bit bigger as well.
Okay.
So we got a couple of things lined up, but yeah, let's leave it at that for now.
There you have. There's a little
Yeah.
glimpse of
Yeah,
what's
little
coming
little
up.
glimpse,
So,
little glimpse. But the experience, you know, you'll always recognize
Gotcha.
that our saver, and you know, it been inspired by what some guys have done with the do-it-yourself kits that we've sold. So we've sold a bunch of boards and enclosures only, and salute Sender. Don't know his real name, but his avatar is Sender. He made a urethane board out of this one, and it looks great. And so we'll certainly work. I don't know if it'll be next year or the one after that, but our own interpretation of what a urethane board should be.
gotcha. What are some of your short and long-term goals? What are you trying to accomplish by the end of this year, and maybe look forward to next year?
Wow, like the end of this year sounds so long term. So right now we're just trying to, like, this is the first like weekend where I basically have not been working since I did this full time. Like, I'm not complaining. It's been great, and I feel like I've come out of jail leaving a law firm, but it's definitely a lot of work. And so what we're doing right now is basically ramping up production and making sure that we're increasing our production, but orders keep coming in at a steady rate as our production increases. So I would like to decrease our delivery time of 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, to have stock. And right now we need to increase but with our new shop and the way we're setting it up with, automotive engineering stations in mind, and, the whole workplace, I think we're going to be on top of it very soon. So that's my very, very short-term goal. That's why, we're not focusing on social media, doing any sort of advertisement, because, luckily, because of guys like you, because people in this community are very passionate. People have been vocal about the board, and we've been lucky enough to have a whole bunch of orders. And
Yeah. Speaking of, I mean, the board's getting a lot of exposure this month.
Yeah.
This month especially, and a lot of people are talking about it. A lot of praises as well as criticism.
Mm-hmm.
How do you respond? What's your reaction to the popularity and all the noise about the board this past month?
Well, certainly very happy about it. And what I'm interested in actually is I've heard certainly a lot of praises about the board, and there are some shortcomings in my mind to it. And I think as people will ride it more, maybe there are things that you don't like about it, and so we invite people to reach out to me directly if you have some feedback. And I am seeking negative feedback basically.
Yeah.
And luckily we're not having a hard time getting any, but so it's been quite a ride. I appreciate everything that's been said about the board, and we put a lot of effort into it. I mean, it's crazy. Like, every single little detail has been thought out. So I guess it's a reflection of that. But I know that nothing is ever perfect, so I'm always trying to improve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, you got a happy customer right here. I mean, this is a great board. I have a blast riding it every time.
Awesome.
So for the people out there who want to get themselves a board,
Yes.
can you tell them where they can go to actually get it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the only way to get our board right now is through our website. We don't have any distributors. We are in discussion with many distributors around the world, but we have no signed deals. So there's no actual way to get a board other than through the lacroixboards.com website at the moment. I know there are some shops, namely in the Netherlands who are advertising our board on their shop, but we don't have a deal with them. We've never sold them a board. You can't buy it through them. So I guess they're using our board to drive traffic.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, you heard it. Go to the website, pick up yourself a board. You'll be really happy, just like me. So, any final words or messages you want to put out there to the audience before we end this?
Yeah. So if you're probably watching this, then you have an interest in e-boarding. And what I want just to stress is like the importance of this is a very nascent sport. And in every jurisdiction, the laws are different. And so we need to be super careful as a community to be respectful and to ride safely and don't be jerks on these boards, because it can change the face of legislation really quickly from one jurisdiction to another, one country to another. And if everyone just, if it remains a curiosity where cyclists and pedestrians are kind of looking at the board and asking questions rather than being completely pissed off at one, then I think that is we're always in the right direction. So, always err on the side of safety. And if you want to go do a speed run or do something, just make sure there's no one around and that, you're not endangering anyone. But, so that would be we're all ambassadors, and, I see you wearing protection. That's awesome. I think, we need to think of these things go fast. And I've taken a couple of plunges, GF has taken some plunges, you've taken some plunges, everybody's taken. So just be humble, respect your own limits, because the premise on which Lacroix was built was that the board could always give you more. The rider is always the limit. So respect the same way when you're going in a mountain, you need to be aware of your environment and respect the environment, because you can get seriously hurt by an avalanche or whatever. It's the same with this. You need to respect your own limits, know them, and be aware of, and then it's all fun.
Great. Well, Alex, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
and I
Danny.
wish your
It was
company much
super
success
fun,
in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
All right.
Thanks.
If you want to learn more about the board, you can check out my video right over here. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to click the like button below. And if you want to see more videos just like this one, click on the subscribe button. As always, take care and be safe.
So many choppers in this city, man. It's crazy.